Okay, so here's why you procrastinate on things you actually care about. You know the feeling, right? You've got this project, this goal, this thing that you're working on. It's important. You believe in it. You want to do it. You're excited about it. But when you sit down, assuming it's a sitting down task, when you sit down and you go do the thing, you think of a million other different things to do. Some random Google search that you have to do, some song that you want to look up, some book that you need to read, some dishes that need cleaning, some whatever. Right? It's so common. And it's very common too for people to think that this means I'm lazy. It means I'm undisciplined. It means I'm unfocused. It means I have ADHD or ADD. People diagnose it. And often it's usually revolves around a mental thing. If I could journal about this, maybe I need some gratitude lists. Maybe I need a new routine. And I'm not saying that these things don't help, that they're not useful. They are good. I use them. I've used them for a long time. But what most of the advice around procrastination misses is what the real actual deeper root reason is that's causing this, right? And I would say right here that it's not because you're lazy. It's not that you're undisciplined. It's not that you're not focused. It's not that you need a better routine or a better morning routine or something like that. It's really about safety, right? Because once upon a time, something, usually in childhood, that can have happened at any point in our lives, there was a moment when we stood up. We wanted to speak up. We wanted to do a thing. We wanted to stand out. We took action and did something. And something bad happened, right? We were yelled at. We were punished. We were hit. We were bullied. We were shamed. And so over time, this forms an association between when I do these things, when I put myself out there, I get hurt. Therefore, it is not safe to succeed. It's not safe to put myself out there. And so I would say that the real thing behind procrastination, the deeper root level thing that's going on, is you don't feel safe. That means that you can have the best routine in the world. You can have coffee. You can have the right music. You can have all the different productivity hacks and tricks and tips, and they all might help. But if you're still struggling against this sense of I'm not safe, it's not safe right now, and it's certainly not safe to succeed. If you don't address that, it's always going to be like you're running through wet concrete. Or you're running against, imagine having like a rubber band around your waist and you're running against that. And you can put all this effort in, you can do all this productivity stuff, all these tips and routines and all this stuff. But then at some point you snap back, right? Because you're not addressing the deeper issue, which is safety. I'm not talking about like I'm safe, saying that kind of a thing in the mirror. I'm talking about, does your body, does your gut, do your organs, does your physical nervous system know that it's safe? And if you procrastinate a lot, that's a pretty compelling sign that you do not feel safe. Certainly not safe enough to do the thing. So think about it this way, right? If you were being chased by a bear in the jungle, in the forest somewhere, or a tiger, or whatever it is, do you think you're going to have the ability to sit down and do some kind of task? Right? Sit down and do, whether it's an essay or a book or a course or a project of some kind. Of course not. All you're thinking about is, how the hell do I get away from this bear? How do I get away from the danger, in this case the bear, and back to safety? That's all you're really thinking about in that moment. Now, when we've been through bad shit in our lives, it can be stuff in childhood, it can be a car crash, different things that stress us out. If that stays stuck in the system, it's like we have a bear, or our system acts and operates as though we're always being chased by a bear. So it always feels unsafe. It could be that we feel like we're being chased by a bear right now, metaphorically, or it could be like doing the thing that we're procrastinating on feels like it's the bear, right? So the core issue here is not, you don't need to journal about it. That can help. Have your productivity routine. What you need to do is reestablish or cultivate a felt sense of safety in your system, right? You need to show your, not just your mind, but your entire, people would say like your head, heart, your gut, your body, mind, and your soul, different words for it. But there is like a physical element to this, right? Fight, flight, and freeze, the various survival responses that the nervous system has. These are physiological things. We need to get the message down at that level, right? It's not just up here, it's down here in the body. Okay? So the next question is, how do we do that? This is what I teach people at Rage Out, is how do you actually get your system out of survival mode, out of fight or flight, out of thinking that there's danger nearby or there's danger in the task or the project that we're trying to do. How do you get that? How do you rewire that? After a lifetime of stress, trauma, pain, bad shit happening, how do we get the system to realize that it's safe on a felt level? And there's a few things we can do with this. Number one is education, which is partly just watching this video. there really is something to be said for learning about your survival physiology, how the fight, flight, freeze response kicks in, what the vagus nerve does, what the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system is. These are all things I talk about on this channel, but just starting to understand these things, what's happening, right? So what's happening when you procrastinate? It's not something to be ashamed of, right? It's your system has an adaptive program, we might say, that once upon a time probably kept you totally and completely safe. You needed it. Maybe it's not as functional right now, but once upon a time you needed it, so you don't need to be ashamed of it, right? That's what the education can help with. It takes the shame out of it. It can also help you be less afraid of what might be coming up, because as you start to play with this pattern, there's probably going to be some emotion underneath that. And if you understand that that's just natural, it's normal, it's part of the nervous system thing, you don't have to be afraid of it, which allows it to move easier. There's less fear, there's less anxiety around it. So that's part one, is education, learning about your nervous system. What you can do in this video, watch some of my other videos on this channel, come and join me over at Raychart on the email newsletter too. There's lots of ways to learn about it, lots of other people teaching this as well. Number two is to, really it's about learning how to feel. I don't know how else to say it. Learn how to feel, not just think. We can all think. Our culture is very thinking based. This is about feeling. Can you feel your feet on the ground right now? Can you see what's happening around you, orienting to the environment, right? Can you notice your breath? Can you notice your breath without changing it? Can you see and feel the ground at the same time? Now, sometimes, depending on what we've been through, it can be hard to feel, right? Because it's scary. Once upon a time, it was really scary. It was overwhelmingly scary, so we stopped feeling. Without realizing it, we cut it all off, so we didn't have to feel, right? So it's a bit of a process of, it's like learning to play a new instrument, learning how to feel, learning how to play the instrument of your body, right? So that's some, I already gave you some pointers. Some other ones are, do you know when you need to go to the bathroom? If so, how? What exactly do you feel in your body that tells you that it's time to go to the bathroom? And are you good at tuning that out, right? Staying at your desk until you're absolutely busting? Or do you feel it and go? When you're hungry, do you ignore it? Or do you feel a sensation and do you eat? When you're tired, do you just have another coffee? Or do you go, hey, I'm feeling some tension in my eyes, my body feels really heavy, okay, I guess I'm tired. Does your mouth get dry when you're thirsty? Right? This is a way to start to tune in to feeling, to notice how you're already making decisions and moving through your life with feeling. And so they're the obvious things: bathroom, thirst, hunger, sleep. There's some very obvious things, but as you practice with those things and start to notice those things more, you will get better at doing something like feeling the ground, noticing your breath without changing it, orienting to your environment, starting to pair these things together. So it's about feeling, right? Because as far as the procrastination goes, if we want to get that survival response unstuck, we need to get at we could say the safety or the lack of safety is really about whether it's fear or shame or guilt or sadness. There's something behind it, anger. When we need to make contact with that, if we can release that, then the system's like, oh, I don't actually need to be so activated like this. It's actually quite safe, right? This emotion that's been there for 15, 20, 30 years, keeping me in this state of procrastination, is now gone. So now I don't need to procrastinate anymore. To get at that emotion, we have to be able to feel. If we can't feel what's happening in our body, we're not going to be able to connect to the emotion. We're not going to be able to release it. That's why the feeling piece is so key, right? And the third thing is you just got to believe that you can do this, man. Believe that it's possible. Believe that this is not just who you are, that this is an adaptive survival program, conditioning. It's a way that your system has learned. The procrastination is a thing that your system has learned as a way to stay safe, likely due to things that happened in childhood or other times in your life when it was totally valuable and totally valid. And now it's just a bit frustrating and maybe it's getting in the way of you doing what you want to do right now. Okay, so to summarize that, we need education, understanding how all this, what's really going on. It's not really about procrastination. It's actually about safety. Right? Number two is learning how to feel, because to get the procrastination to lift, we have to get at the feeling of unsafety, which is driven by the unfelt, unresolved feelings in us, which is going to be things like anger, fear, doubt, sadness, shame. We need to be able to get at that, because if we can get at that and have that come up, and then we can release it, resolve it, it's done, then the system's like, oh, it's not holding on to it anymore, and then it's like, oh, I can let go. Then it doesn't feel such a perpetual sense of danger anymore. It's like, oh, it's actually pretty safe right now because I'm no longer constantly replaying out this bullshit from the past inside my system, right? We also, in that process, as we get better at feeling, we increase our capacity and ability to feel. So even if doing the thing is, say, scary, right? Even if doing the project or executing is scary, by learning how to feel these different emotions, our capacity increases. And then the fear or the risk of, say, getting rejected when we do a project, that doesn't feel so intense anymore. Instead of that, let's say we have 10 potential units of capacity, and the shame or whatever is making us procrastinate has 15 units, right? By learning how to feel and feel and feel everything, we can increase our capacity to, let's say, 100 units. And then that 15 units of shame that comes up when we try and do the project is now like a tiny portion, a tiny fraction of our total capacity, and therefore it feels far less threatening, and therefore we do not need to procrastinate. Kind of like if you were being chased by a bear, one way is to get rid of the bear, another way is to just be so strong that the bear is irrelevant, emotionally resilient and strong. And that's something that this process will do. So education, learning how to feel. And the third thing is believing that you deserve this, that you can do it, and that this is not just who you are, it is an adaptive survival mechanism. If you want to learn how to do this, if you want a guided exercise, I'm going to put a video here or here. It'll be one side. It's the first lesson from inside the Rage Heart Academy. It's completely free. It's here on YouTube. And that is the best place, I would say, if you want a practical, in the trenches, guided exploration of everything we've talked about here today. Enjoy.